experience with our CSR virtual exposition, CSR Connect, which have been partnered by TERI and our resource partner Consultivo, and we have also had support from sponsors like Oil India and session partners Center for Catalyzing Change. So today's session is a very interesting and important session as far as implementation challenge. It's called implementation challenges and funding opportunities. This will help you in understanding various avenues, and our experts from TERI, they will take you through the session. Please feel free to interact, ask questions, and make the session lively. Over to Dr. Thakur and his team to take us through the session.
Thank you, Soma, for your wonderful words. And again, I congratulate Indian Chamber of Commerce for organizing such an important event, in fact, which is ICC CSR Connect. I again say that such event or program is absolutely relevant in Indian context. Reason being that you have everyone at one platform. You talk about government, you talk about corporate, you talk about NGOs, you talk about the community. So welcome to each one of you on today's capacity building program, which is focusing on implementation challenges and funding opportunities. So I'll make it very lively, as Soma said, that though it will be a bit of theoretical, but I will take you to the real practical experiences that this world of CSR and sustainability is facing, and what type of projects are working in this country, what scale of projects are working. We'll also share our experiences, that what type of implementation challenges on CSR is done in such a manner that the projects are successful, outcomes are as such that it's impactful, and what is expected from the project is much more achieved. Also, what is crucial to drive such a CSR agenda is the funding opportunities. In fact, funding opportunities is the essence of CSR, and which comes from majorly from the corporate sector. And there are certain set of corporate sector which are eligible for funding. So those aspects in combination I will discuss, and I will try to take you through with some flavors of funding, flavors of implementation, and how one can achieve the larger goals of CSR for achieving sustainability through such CSR programs. My first slide, in fact, if you see some photographs, these are some of the project photographs. We do a lot of CSR projects for corporate India, both in the private sector and the public sector organizations. This is the project that we did with a public sector organization. It was an inception workshop. We did it in Purulia, West Bengal. We have done it in MP, Indore. We have done it in Himachal Pradesh. We have done in Jharkhand. We have done in Bihar. We have done in Odisha. We have done in Uttar Pradesh. So everywhere I have tried to culminate photographs of the real projects that we do, and we try to spread the concepts across the country, so that a knowledge advocacy on CSR could be created, and NGOs and other stakeholders can learn from it. So this is all about the first slide. The second slide, in fact, if you see some of the photographs, why I am taking through the photographs, that I will also connect with you several projects. If you see on the left hand side of on the screen, there are two toilets, in fact, which have been constructed. We did a project with a Maharatna company in the state of West Bengal, Coal India Limited, and that was one of the largest CSR project in the country, in which we developed 40 villages. So in that, the entire planning of the project, implementation and achieving sustainability was done. And there were 4 major activities in that project. One was sanitation program, in which awareness, training and construction of toilet was required. You can see the real photographs of the toilet, where the beneficiaries are standing along with the toilet. It was a twin pit toilet with provision of water, and toilets are being utilized at present time because of the quality that we have ensured. Second part was the agricultural activity around those villages, 40 villages. Third activity was provision of solar home lighting system and cook stoves. And fourth was we did develop a knowledge cum recreation center in which computers were provided to each of the school along with some reading materials, training programs, and we capacitated the students and teachers to run the computer on their own and to run the course, in fact, on computer on their own. So that was a very successful program. It was a 3-year program, got completed in 2019, and it has won several awards across the country. And it has been acclaimed by Department of Public Enterprises, Government of India, West Bengal Government, District Administration of Purulia, West Bengal, and IIT Bombay has recognized this project, especially the work that we have done on the sanitation aspect. So why I mentioned this project, because it is one of the largest CSR project in India, and the learnings have been humongous. The challenges were huge. 2 lakh beneficiaries directly got benefited from this project, and it has created huge impact on the social fabric of our country. So left hand side, you can see the sanitation program where toilets were constructed. Right hand side, you see a lot of new practices that we introduced in the agriculture sector, like the SRI techniques. New seeds were provided, new training programs were initiated, specialized trainings were conducted for the farmers, mushroom training was conducted, livelihood generation program was conducted, goatery activity was conducted. Lot of tools were provided to the farmers. Farmers were taken to various exposure visits across the country, to Ranchi, to Bhopal, and several other places. And specifically on training program, we emphasized a lot, and it led to increase in the income of the farmers also. In the agriculture segment, it increased around 20-25% from the point where they did not do all these good practices to the point when we exit from the project. So this is how one should conceptualize project in the larger context, that whatever goals are need to be achieved in a systematic manner and need to move forward. So this was the 2 photographs. That's why I have kept the photographs just for interaction. And at the end, we will be taking up questions, focusing on what I present, what you understand, and it will be open forum. We'll deliberate a lot on that. The most important aspect of any CSR program per se in terms of implementation and CSR funding is the planning of CSR policies. Now the policy is in place and the policy is framed by the government. There are several amendments which are in place. 2013 we had the law passed by the government of India. Until now there have been several amendments. The latest one, the latest amendment that we had in the month of January 2021. So those policies are in place, but the companies, have to implement the policies, and they had to decide the type of focus areas they need to take up. For example, supposedly GAIL or Tata Group or Birla Group or any other company which is eligible for CSR, they have to come up with a CSR policy, and then they have to decide the focus theme areas. Suppose I am Tata Group, I decided that I will work on 3 themes: education, health, and environment. Now, once the policy has been finalized and the theme has to be articulated in the policy, and that policy in fact becomes your Bible, which moves forward for implementation of CSR framework for the particular company. Similar goes to all eligible companies across the country. So I gave an example of Tata, Coal India or GAIL. So there are more than around 18,000 companies which are eligible, in fact approximately I am saying, for CSR activities in India, and they are supposed to spend around 18,000 to 20,000 crore on annual basis. So so first step is the CSR policy and the implementation of the CSR policy. Now once you have done the first step, second step is identify projects and programs, because in India now it is very clear in the law that the cash or kind or one-off event would not qualify in CSR. So what is going to be qualified in CSR? You have to have projects, you have to have programs. So CSR project have to be taken on a project mode or on a program mode. And this involves following things. What are projects? Projects should have timelines. Projects should have activities. Projects should have implementable strategies in place, and a time frame within which the project would be completed along with the milestones. For example, I take a project on school education for 10 schools in the state of Jharkhand, or in the state of Odisha, or in the state of Bengal. So I asked company A, who is funding, that I want to put up rainwater harvesting system and a computer center in all these schools, for example. Company said, give us the proposal, we'll take your proposal, we have understood your idea. So a proposal goes to them, and we give them that 10 schools would be covered. Your water harvesting system would be established or put in place in each of these school, in 10 schools, so 10 water harvesting structures and 10 computer centers having provision of computer would be established. So for example, we told them that the budget would be around 50 lakhs. So 50 lakhs, so there is a clear-cut budget, there is a clear-cut work, and we said that we'll do the work in a time span of 1 year. And within that 1 year, you have milestones that in first 3 months you will complete the study part, baseline part, and you start the work at the school level. Second quarter, you will achieve the implementation part of 50%. Third quarter, you complete the work. Fourth part, you submit and complete all the activities, and you submit the final report. So this is how projects or programs, the meaning of the projects and programs are. So this is the second step of identifying projects and programs. Now, it is easier said than done, and you have to structure the entire process. Structuring the entire process, what I just mentioned, is that 1 year time frame is the project time period, project time frame. So you have to break into phases, so quarter wise or month wise, whatever is whatever is convenient to you, and whatever the what is doable on ground. So you have broken into supposedly in quarterly form, and you have to fix the milestones. You have to fix the goals for each quarter, and that's how you have to achieve the goals in each quarter. If some goals are overachieved, it's very good. If some are underachieved, then it goes to the second quarter. So this is called the structuring of the process. Fourth part, I'll keep myself on the project part only, that we have 10 schools and 2 activities, one activity on water harvesting and second on the computer education. So now how to assign in fact the responsibilities, whom to assign. Now this has to be done by somebody. I have given a proposal, I agreed it, I got the fund, I have established the timelines, I have structured the process, but who will do it? Now for that, any organization like we are, like any of the NGOs, the esteemed NGOs which are here, or any NGO which is eligible to do CSR, they have to assign responsibilities in terms of the employees, in terms of engaging the stakeholders, in terms of engaging the schools, and you have to start doing the activities at the school level. You can do it directly, or you can also engage your partner in the process. This is called the implementation initiation of the project, in which the project has been started in these 10 schools. In terms of responsibilities, there are a range of stakeholders. One is you as a NGO, who is the implementer of the project. School is the beneficiary. Principals and schools students are also beneficiary. You also have some local NGOs who have some more capability, they can also be engaged. Companies, in fact, are also a stakeholder for the process. So this is how the implementing solutions are put in place in terms of taking forward the implementation of the project or program. Now, once the project has been done or on the verge of completion, then there is you need to, would like to know the outcome, that the project has been completed. All 10 schools have received your computer solutions and water harvesting solutions. But what has been the impact on the students and on the school, and maybe a little bit on the community? So the new rule also, new rule on CSR says that impact assessment post January 2021 is mandatory now. Mandatory in the sense that one would like to know that what is the impact of such project, how the fund has been spent, what are the quantitative and qualitative aspect of the project, how much impact it has created, and what are the gaps in the project. So this is done through impact assessment, and this is now a mandatory thing to be. So there are certain rules to this, which has come up in the new rule. And the rule says that any company, in fact, which has a CSR budget of 10 crore or above, need to do impact assessment for those projects whose single value is more than is more than 1 crore or above. So your turnover should be, your CSR budget should be 10 crores or above, and the project which the value of which is 1 crore or above need to conduct impact assessment, and that needs to be done by an independent agency. So what you assess in impact assessment would help to understand that how each of the phases have been done by the NGO, what are the impact on the community, how each activity has benefited the community or the school, what are the problematic areas, and how those problematic areas could be resolved in the longer run, and how the entire project strengthens the school or the community or whomsoever it is meant for. So this is the entire concept. In fact, I thought it must be placed before you in larger understanding, so that there is clarity on how project moves on CSR, and the next step I will subsequently discuss. The third slide, in fact, talks more about various models on CSR and its analysis. I had told yesterday also, to an extent, when I was presenting along with my colleague Apurva and Mitaksha from TERI, that there are certain theoretical models which are still relevant today, and relevant in the context that it's an inspiring model. In fact, you talk about Carroll's model, you talk about stakeholder model, you talk about the TVL theory method, you talk about the creating shared value concept, shareholder value theory, and the corporate citizenship theory. So why all these theories I have taken up? The reason only is that these theories put at the center stage how social development should take place. What is the role of environment? What is the role of economic development, and how the legal aspect plays a key role, and how philanthropic activities can achieve the larger goals for social development. So I'll take few of them one by one, so that you understand the role of the theory also, because theory is like a policy document. So when the policy is understood properly, when a theory is practically, when theory is understood properly, then only practical, goals can be achieved. So we hear a lot about the Carroll's theory. Carroll has a pyramidal structure where you can see the triangular pyramid. In fact, it talks more about 4 levels. First, it talks about, in fact, the economic aspect. Economic aspect is majorly that every company should be profitable, should have money in hand to do welfare activities. Then you have, in fact, 3 more, in fact, in which you have the environmental aspect, you have the legal aspect, and you have the philanthropic aspect. So this go hand on hand, and these are all interconnected. So a company must be economically sound, must follow the provisions of the law, the legal aspect. It must ensure that the environmental aspects are addressed properly, because any business, because money on CSR comes from business. The business has to ensure that it is profitable, it is adhering to the law, and third part, it is addressing the issues of environment, because the resources they receive, majorly the companies get it from the mother nature, from environment. So it has to restore and safeguard the interest of the environment. It should not start extracting so much that it becomes unsustainable in the entire process. So there are several, reports also. The Brundtland's report is there. Several report highlights that concept of sustainable development, that we should use resources on today's date in such a manner, in an equitable manner, that we leave enough for the future generation on their own. So this is how we need to address several goals of the CSR, addressing the sustainable development goals. Now, in terms of the philanthropic part, which is at the top of the pyramid, if you have done well on economic part, we have done well on the legal part, you have done well on the environmental part, Then the fourth part, in fact, is that you can do a lot of philanthropic activities, and this is how Carroll's model was, relevant 100 years before also and today also. And the same model applies to all the corporates on CSR, sustainability, or any other area. Though it could be a little bit refuted to some extent, but those things we'll discuss later. So this is how we should understand Carroll's model in entirety. Second comes the shareholder theory. Shareholder focuses only in profit maximization. Whereas the stakeholder theory says that profit is important, but we also have to look for the society also, environment also. We have to look about the culture also. So it takes into account all the ingredients along with profit. Shareholder only is interested in enhancing the profit. So you can, bifurcate and understand which theory is more relevant in today's context. We will have a discussion on this also. Now, shareholder value, in fact, this is also a good concept wherein, a competitive advantage is created through CSR, in which you position yourself in such a manner to the audience, to the stakeholders or to the community, that whatever you are doing, you are reaching out to them to resolving several issues, and they see you in the context of a positive entity or a company, and there is a lot of social value you create in their eyes. So this creating shared value is the concept in which the focuses how companies can build competitive advantage by adding social value to their activities. It means that how efficient you are delivering your solutions through CSR, in which you are perceived as much better than your competition. This is what the concept of shared value is all about. Now this is in entirety all the models, I would say, that focuses first on the economic theory only. Second part on stakeholder, focuses on all the stakeholders, including community, economic theory, social theory, environmental aspect. So this is a very larger theory. I had written a paper also on the stakeholder theory, in which we had given several models on how stakeholders are key and which stakeholder play what type of role in achieving the goals of an organization or the social aspect. So this is how the concept, the theoretical concept, is put into practice. And at the core, if you see the three diagrams, in fact, in terms of which are intertwined, there is people, there is planet, and profit. Profit is the economic part, planet is our environment, and people are the social part, we all. So we have to combine it in such a manner that the goals of the social development are achieved through CSR. This was my third slide, in fact. I will then now move to the fourth slide. Now, most of the NGOs or the social entities, they like to know that what are the benefits or what are the opportunities we can have through CSR or through social projects. So for businesses also, for NGOs also, there is always an opportunity. And I will establish through my entire presentation, when I complete my presentation, you will be more than capacitated to understand the implementation aspect as well as how the funding works for the organizations. So one has to look for the markets, in fact, tapping emerging markets. This is relevant more about businesses also, but if business does well, CSR do well, as we have mentioned in the theory part. So India is an emerging market. Along with India, the other developing BRICS country like Brazil, also Africa, Indonesia, Argentina, these are also emerging markets. So businesses always look for where there are opportunities, and there they invest on a long-term basis. And based on that, they get a revenue on their investment or profit on their investment. So one has to constantly understand the opportunities which are there and what are the emerging areas in any market. Here on CSR front, I would say that India has a huge potential because there are 18,000 companies. Every company has budget, and one should try to see that in what way we can tap those budgets. Now, better knowledge of local market. Now, this is applied for both the companies as well as the NGOs. Now, local market means that a company, in fact, needs to understand what is the requirement of the people, what is the community wanting, how you perceive the need of the people who is going to buy your product or where you want to do your developmental projects. So that understanding is crucial of the local community or the local market, and thereby you need to devise strategies accordingly. Third part is that every NGO or every businesses, I'm mixing both together in two different contexts, but there are synergies. That you have to focus on the business objectives. In fact, my as an Airtel or Tata Group or Birla Group, my objectives are very much written on my vision statement, or my objectives are very clear. But beyond that, also I will focus on all those areas which is beneficial for the organization. Similar goes for NGO. If my NGO focuses on that, I will work on health and education. Then I will focus on those two areas, and I will try to see that how I can tap the resources, how I can have better knowledge of the market. This is how we need to understand things in detail. Fourth part is the improved ability to attract and build effective and efficient supply chain relationship. This is also equally relevant to the companies and also relevant to the NGOs. That you have to understand the entire supply chain management. Supply chain, last year on the first day of the inauguration, there was a discussion on the operational efficiency. Operational efficiency is nothing but how you manage your supply chain. In a CSR project or for the NGOs, any project that do the government also, they do a lot of projects. In that, you have to ensure the timelines, the human resources, the financial resources in achieving the goals of the project. The more focused you are, the more timely you do it. Yes, it all depends on how you are getting the funding also for that particular project. But operational efficiency is nothing but efficiency is a culmination of output by input. How efficiently you are using the input to achieving the output is called efficiency. And operational efficiency can easily be achieved if all your resources are deployed efficiently, which goes good for business as well as for the NGO in context to business as well as the social projects. Building business relations. It is something which we leave out because what we see, in fact, for the businesses, their customer is the king, and you have to delight the customer, as we say in marketing. And Philip Kotler, in fact, and many other writers do speak very strongly on this. We have to strengthen our business because there is a lot of space. If you see the telecom sector, there was Airtel was there, Vodafone was there, Idea was there, Jio entered. Jio today captured almost 30-35% of the market. BSNL at one point of time had more than 60% share. So you have to understand the business properly. You have to keep innovating your product, your solutions, and you have to see that how your competition is also placed and what type of challenges they do provide to the business. Finally, the more robust social license to operate in the community. So this is again relevant to both the entities, businesses and NGOs, that you don't have any license to operate with the community. You have to create a good rapport with the community, and then only community will accept you. It also goes for the community also. Community is always expecting that you will give things free of cost. Everything would come free of cost. So though any product or solution can come free of cost in CSR, but you have to develop and invite strategies in that after the certain time one has to exit from the project. What type of strategies you have embedded to see that the project continues on its own and achieve the goals of sustainability. So these are very crucial points in terms of opportunities which provide for the businesses. I have again put some of the photographs of the projects in which we distributed goods to the community. We conducted health camps. We distributed and trained the farmers on modern tools. The project that we did in West Bengal, Purulia. Further, I have strengthened the business opportunities in terms of all the theories again. These theories must be understood in the true spirit, and that would help to take forward the cause of social good in India and for your NGOs. Now, people do say that stakeholders. People don't discuss too much about stakeholders, but I thought we must understand the difference between a shareholder and a stakeholder. Shareholder could be only one, only the business entity, or you or me, only one entity could be a shareholder. And the purpose of shareholder is only to earn profit. That is a capitalistic thought when you talk about shareholder. It was also came in Newton Friedman in New York Times in 1970 that only purpose of business is to earn profit. So that was in fact the thought of shareholder, but that over a span of 70, 80 years have changed. Now people more talk about stakeholders. Even if you see Ratan Tata or any other businessman, or Bill Gates, anybody, if you say, in fact, they all talk about stakeholders. Who are stakeholders? And focusing especially for the social segment, for the social sector. First of all, in fact, the government is there. What government does? Government frames policies, rules, and facilitates. Government institutes are there. Those are research entities. One do a lot of tie-ups with them and understand how, what's happening at the government front at their research institutes. Media is the important pillar of the democracy also, and we all hope that they will be more, positive in taking forward the real news across the country, and not align with anybody, but they will put the real thing before us. So media is an important pillar, and in a way they take forward all the agendas. They create outreach, they communicate to people. We have this print media, we have electronic media, we have social media nowadays. So everything is very vibrant, and one should be careful in dealing with media also, and especially the social media, because there are several aspects which need to be dealt carefully with media. But media is a very efficient outreach medium for any of the projects, programs, and goals for any organization. Implementing organization is the key. I have made it a bit bigger, reason being that implementing organizations are the NGOs, social entities who implement the projects. And they need to understand what type of projects they are having in hand and how they want to implement it. Elected members, when you go to ground, you can't avoid meeting the elected members. They have their own agenda, but also whatever extent possible, you need to engage them and need to have proper briefing about the project. So they are also a type of stakeholder. Community is the most important, because on them only, I'm again using the word experimentation of projects need to be done. The benefits of projects need to be done, and that's how they get benefited. Government institution linkages. There are several entities. If you do a project, we need to have a tie-up. We need to have government institution linkages, and they have certain capacity. Maybe on agriculture, health, hygiene, environment, education. And if in a project allows, one should do that. So they are also part of the stakeholder. Sponsor is the most key aspect. Without getting funded, projects don't work. So they are one of the most key stakeholder, and they play a pivotal role in terms of any project or programs. So this set of entities form stakeholders, and one need to do a proper assessment for any project in taking it forward. Now, in terms of the, we have discussed regarding the project's implementation, several challenges, business opportunities. There are certain sustainability challenges. In fact, every project has a lot of sustainability challenges, and those challenges need to be addressed properly. So, in terms of, in general, there is what I mentioned initially also, there is a lack of commitment and strategic vision for NGOs. Reason being that they feel that it's going on, we don't know what will happen after 6 months, we've got some fund. So one has to constantly strive to achieve the vision and goals of the own NGO or the setup they are working upon. So there are gaps in the measurement systems also. As I told you, that whatever things are implemented or planned to be implemented, the tools are not in place to measure them properly. So expertise and knowledge is key. In fact, that we are seeing everywhere to do projects for human resources. Expertise is not there, for which you don't get or receive funds. And there is a gap between the sponsor and the funder and the NGO recipient. So the transparency also is a big aspect. Companies think that the NGOs work in isolation; they have their own agenda. They don't share the details, and therefore there is a lack of, I would say, belief in each other, and that creates a gap in terms of funding. And non-availability of specific NGOs. Sometimes it do happen that if I want to do a particular set of work, and I don't get NGOs to deliver that. We have generic NGOs, they do everything, but on that particular work, we don't get NGOs. These are the general aspects which we do find. Specific one for projects, I have also mentioned that need assessment is not there properly, so you won't understand the project in entirety. Communication with the community, there is a gap. Timeline is generally stretched, which creates chaos and problem, and everybody in the supply chain or the value chain is affected, and that impacts the sustainability aspect of projects. Ensuring sustainability of activities and project. Every activity, as I mentioned to you, whether we constructed toilet or water harvesting or computer education or agriculture, every activity in a project need to be seen from the sustainability aspect in which it can run on its own. So you have to devise strategies how you can do it. Lack of understanding of solutions by the community. Most of the time it happens that community also don't understand the solutions that you provide. So though one sensitize them to an extent, but again there remains gap. And there are gaps in the training aspect, capacity building aspect, in which the sustainability challenges remain. So in the general category and also in the company specific project, these are the issues, challenges which affects in fact the sustainability of projects. I have again mentioned some of the photographs in which we have trained farmers, some of the usable products related to agriculture were distributed, plants were distributed, saplings were distributed, and we ensured that those saplings grow. Those agriculture tools are used by the farmers, and we try to achieve to an extent and maximize the sustainability of our CSR projects. Again, further taking forward the sustainability challenges, the stakeholder interest also always need to be maintained and created. First, it has to be created and needs to be maintained, and they need to be engaged in activities. Though it is a bit tough, but again, we have done it several times, and we know, this is a doable thing. And that should be mutual between the all these stakeholders, especially the implementer and the community, along with to an extent the sponsor also. Also, we have seen, as we discussed, the Carroll's theory in how we do the measurement part of the social and environmental bottom lines. As you know, in business, bottom line is, there are two things, sales and profit. So top line is sales, bottom line is profit. So how do we measure in Carroll's theory, in fact, the social aspect and environmental bottom lines? So what type of profit it has generated? How do we measure in social aspect and in the environmental aspect? So, so this need to be studied situationally, and this can also be captured and can be quantified, or maybe quantitatively also it can be provided. Details can be provided. Now, also in few other theories, we have seen that if you want to achieve the sustainable development goals related to society, the reporting aspect is also important. Qualitative reporting is also is a type of reporting, and that should be understood and reported properly. Also, this shared value concept, there also lies sustainability challenges. But in fact, if you start doing innovation in your project, local innovation that day we discussed in the inauguration part of the event, there also, how you do the innovation is a challenge, but it can be done, because without innovation at the local level, success for the project gets a bit difficult task. So, and that ensures sustainability, because if you have done some sort of innovation by engaging the community, they can take forward those solutions forward. Now, in terms of the, I discussed, in fact, the implementation, the business part also, and also I have been discussing the funding aspect also. But here, in general, I am saying where you or we all look for funds on CSR or for development projects. We look for from the philanthropists. Philanthropists are the individuals like Ratan Tata or any other, or Bill Gates, any or any other any person or individuals. You can also go for HNI funds. In fact, high network individuals. So all those funds come in the category of philanthropist. You create a system, you create a website, you reach out to people, and there are several such sources which is bigger than companies and foundations. And those philanthropists, if they find it proper, they would fund your NGOs or the project you are working for. So there you need to see, identify, work upon, and there are a lot of philanthropists who are nationally in India, across the globe, are available to support such schemes and programs. In the context to companies have a structured have a proper structure. They have a well-defined funds for well-defined activities. So if things fall in the ambit, like for the CSR, non-CSR, any other developmental projects that you do, companies have funds and they could be approached for receiving the funds. For the eligible set of companies can always fund the NGOs. Third part are the today's foundations are also there. The normal foundations, CSR foundations, company foundations, they also take up projects, programs, and support the NGOs on various aspects. It could be programs, it could be training programs, it could be projects. So everywhere, the funds are available, and it's a big ecosystem that we have now on CSR and on other aspects where funds are available. Fourth part is which I haven't mentioned, government also fund, but government problem is that they say they already have too many projects. They are also looking for funds, but government is also a potential avenue to receive funds. So these are the options for fund, and this is how the fund structure works in India and globally. Now, in terms of the solutions and what are the success factors, in fact, in terms of projects and programs. So CSR need now to be strategically aligned. You need to have a mission, vision, team, place. Your financial resources should be properly aligned, and it should be strategically taken forward. There should be strong partnerships among all stakeholders, which I mentioned to you. There has to be value addition to community, in fact, where community is looking for change, innovation, technological innovation, or whatever type of innovation you see, they need to get some value addition on what you are working on them. Else it's a waste of time, effort for everyone. Now, impact assessment has to be done for CSR project. One should know it, and that's how it should be taken forward. Local capacities are important, as I mentioned earlier in my slide, in my earlier PPT, that local capacities both for companies and NGOs need to be created to deliver projects. And there has to be an openness, transparency, and trust, and that's the mistrust, and that gap, don't allow funds to chip in from the corporate sector. So you don't feel that it's a small NGO, big NGO is getting more funds, small NGO is not getting funds. It's not like that. It's something is that all these aspects, if put together, can lead to better results. The next one is that this is the reality which is there. All the money is in handful, in few hands, I would say, in India or globally. You have in India 30 people having worth more than 130 crore people. So this is the reality. But again, in this reality, one should constantly believe in the fact that there is a sunshine also, there is a better side also, and whosoever it's a big country. Our country is a land of opportunity. It has a very historical strong background. We are culturally, socially much ahead than the rest of the world, and in every aspect we can achieve bigger goals. So though this is a reality, but again, in terms of wealth, not only wealth is not a factor. The social fabric, cultural fabric, environmental fabric, all those things, if you put together, the other side, can is much richer than the left hand side. So we need to constantly work upon this to see how we can have a better place and how we can do much for our organization and for our state and country. So with this, in fact, I close my presentation and this training program and this capacity building program, and this is what I believe in, and I still believe that NGOs are the key for all success in India. You have to structure yourself in a manner which we have discussed today to see that there are brighter sides and more funds flow. But again, funds can only flow when you follow all these guidelines properly and you believe that yes, you can do much better. So with this thing, I complete my presentation. I thank each one of you for being a patient listener. And I thank once again to Indian Chambers of Commerce to come up with this unique concept, and we look forward to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Thakur. Wonderfully represented each and every slide. It was quite elaborate. I'm sure it will be very useful to all our participants. So the floor is now open for questions. In case some of you have any questions to ask Dr. Thakur and his team, please feel free, because this kind of opportunities are very rare to come by. Now, once we have this opportunity, let's take full advantage. You may stop sharing the screen. Any questions? You can simply, unmute and ask the question. Yes, Aditi.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So I had a question that suppose we have various ideas regarding the project. So when we are going to approach for fund, will we approach for the various ideas, or we are going to focus on any particular fund, or we'll show them that we have so many ideas and we are going to pitch in that way?
So valid question. First, you need to see that what theme you are working upon. Supposedly, suppose for example, you are working on education or health. Then yes, it is good to showcase all your ideas that you can work in this, and that. But be specific again that yes, this is the area where you work upon, and here lies your strength or weakness.
Another question. Suppose since the projects always we have planned for the pan India, but are we going to approach in this way that we are going to do the project for pan India, or we are going to focus on any particular area in that way?
See,
in order to see the impact and.
Yes, so this is also a very valid question. It all depends on your size and scale of your NGO or your entity, what capacity you have. So what companies are generally doing, if one has done several type of big projects and has already exhibited the skills in terms of implementing large scale programs, and there is no issues in giving a pan India work. But again, it's always viable for companies, and they also want to go like this. They look on a smaller scale first. They ask for do it in Birbhum, or maybe in Durgapur or Asansol or in Howrah, or maybe any other place in Kolkata, or so with a smaller geographical project to start off with, and then based on the outcome and impact, they may give it may allow you to go for a bigger project.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I have two more questions. Can I ask two more questions?
Yeah, please.
So actually, when we approach for CSR funds, mainly the projects that the funds, they don't give administrative costs. So then, sir, how to create a corpus to carry out this administrative cost? Because overhead costs and administrative costs are not given by the fund CSR funds. They mainly want to focus on the project only, but not on the administrative part. So in that way, how can we create a corpus to carry out the execution thing?
See, that is a major issue which is coming up earlier, because the new amendment from January 2021, does not allow any corpus support to any organization. But before that, it was allowed. Administrative support was allowed to an extent. But again, I would say, because what can happen is that you can discuss with your funding agency. There is a bit of professional cost which they provide. And that can support your staff or the professionals who are working on the project. Still, don't say it a corpus fund, but again, administrative head to an extent can be allowed. But again, the new amendment has avoids having any type of contribution to the corpus.
And sir, another thing, can the budget have a scope separately for planning grant and the implementation grant?
See, what happens largely is that generally funds are available for implementation. But again, yes, if the company agrees, because most of the time the location, geographical details are already identified by the companies. They have done that work through their baseline survey. So that is already there. So you are only required to take it forward, in fact, in terms of implementation. And for which some professional budget is also provided. It is expected generally that you will do it with your professional budget in terms of the planning part. But yes, if the company agrees, it is also possible.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Bala, you can please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, good morning. So one thing that I have two questions in mind, and I would like to ask these two. One thing is that should all the companies focus on all activities as per the schedule 7? So this is one question. And second is that how we can approach the public sector undertakings for CSR grants. So I just want a solution, sir, for this.
See, companies are required to identify their thematic areas within the scope of Schedule 7. It is not required to follow or list all the Schedule 7 activities. They can choose based on their interest, based on their capacity, and based on the strategic alignment of their company. That is one. So in terms of reaching out to the public sector companies, we all know there are 3 categories: Maharatna, Navratna, Miniratna, and they have very clear-cut strategy. In fact, you have to submit their proposal to their CSR person, and it will be taken up to the CSR committee. And if they recommend it, then the project is approved at the board level. This is how the structure goes.
But is it that we have to approach these companies individually, sir? Or is there any platform where all these companies can be found and we can approach them?
See, in terms of the companies reaching out for CSR projects, the first option is reaching out individually. That's one of the best options that generally goes. If it is a public platform, there is no well-defined public platform, but there are several such organizations which they have engaged public sector, and there one can submit the proposal and it can go to them. But generally, it's an individual effort which culminates result.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so any other questions? So I think there are no further questions as of now. Once again, thank you, Dr. Thakur. Thank you, Mitaksha and Apurva, for this wonderful sessions. And we look forward to working with your team in the future also. And just for the information of all our participants, we have another session on 30th, which is a Monday, on it's on baseline evaluation and impact assessment. So kindly be there. And since Dr. Thakur has already explained about the implementation challenges and So we are taking this forward to the next level, which is once you have implemented, how to measure the impact, which is most important, which Dr. Thakur also touched upon in his presentation today. So therefore, we look forward. The session is again on Monday. So I'm sure all of you must have got the joining links. So thank you, and wish you a very good day, and have a nice day, and let's hope that this carries on. And our the last session is on the 30th, when we'll be wrapping up with the stakeholder roundtable. We look forward to having you on both the sessions. Thank you.